different ranges of different data types. So let's try to write a program which shows the minimum and maximum range of values that can be stored in a particular types of data or data types. So let's try to first include the header files, okay, iostream, and then we have to use the standard namespace, using standard namespace, and here main. Fine. So let's try to write a simple cout statement. Cout minimum, or the smallest values, that the smallest value, the smallest value that can be stored in int data type. So how can you find this? You can write int underscore min and then inline. Clear? Similarly, cout the largest value that can be stored in int data type. And in data type, let's see the largest value or the max. Clear? So that is in line. Let's try to save this program um, with the name A. Okay, so let's try to compile and run. Now you can see this is what we discussed there, that the minimum, this is basically the minimum range of a value that can be stored in int data type. Similarly, this is the maximum value that can be stored in data type. So let's try to understand this time. Let's try to write another cout statement for the unsigned. The largest value that can be stored in that can be stored in where, that can be stored in unsigned int. Unsigned int. So for this you have to use u in capital, I in capital, u unsigned, and then int in capital, unsigned int. Clear? Now let's try to run this program and see the result. Now you can see this is basically that largest value that you can store, because in unsigned int we can only store positive numbers, while in the integer we can store positive as well as negative numbers. Let's try to find out the minimum and maximum range uh, of short, smallest value that can be stored in short. Okay, so because we discussed shrt, we discussed these things in previous uh, lecture. So shrt minimum. Now let's try to compile this code and run this code. You can see this is the smallest value that we can store in short variable, and that is minus 32,768. And again, let's try to write a cout statement for the largest value. Largest value that can be stored in short, uh, in short. So shrt underscore max. Now let's try to compile and run this code and see the result. Now this is basically the largest value that can be stored in short, that is plus 32,767. So let's try to find out the size of long as well, and then unsigned long. um, we need to, for this we need to write the here we need to write the statement, the smallest value that can be stored in a long. So for this, what we have to do is you have to write long underscore min, and here we need to write a statement for printing the largest value that can be stored in long. Long underscore max and then inline, and let's try to write the statement here. The maximum value, or the largest value that can be stored in unsigned long, and that is long underscore u long, basically u long underscore max. Now let's try to run this program and see the result on the terminal uh, screen. So basically this is largest. Okay, largest, I have to put a t here. Now let's try to compile and run this code and see that what it gives us as an output. Here you can see this is basically the largest value that can be stored in unsigned long, and that is like as we discussed in the class as well. Similarly, this is the largest value that can be stored in long. Okay, so basically this is that positive value that you can store in a long variable. Similarly, here you can see this is the smallest value that can be stored in long variable, and this is the largest value that you can store in a short, and this is the smallest value that can be stored in short. And this is unsigned in. Basically, we discussed that there is no difference between the int and between the long, but basically int depends on the compiler and on the system in use. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope